The morning sun came through the kitchen window and made everything look warm and golden. Sarah stood by the stove, watching the coffee maker bubble and hiss. She liked this quiet time before everyone else woke up. The house was still and peaceful. She could hear birds singing outside and the soft tick of the clock on the wall. She poured herself a cup of coffee and sat down at the small table. The chair made a little squeak like it always did. Sarah wrapped her hands around the warm cup and looked out the window. The garden needed work. The grass was too long and weeds grew between the flowers. Her phone buzzed on the table. It was a message from her sister, Linda. They were supposed to meet for lunch today. Sarah smiled. She had not seen Linda in almost 2 weeks. Life got busy sometimes, and days would pass without them talking much. But they were close. They always had been, even as children. Sarah heard footsteps upstairs. Her husband, Tom, was awake. Soon he came down the stairs, his hair messy from sleep. He yawned and stretched his arms over his head. "Good morning," he said in a sleepy voice. "Morning," Sarah replied. "Coffee is ready." Tom poured himself a cup and sat down across from her. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes. This was their routine. Every morning, they would sit together and drink coffee before the day really started. It was something small, but it meant a lot to both of them. "What do you have planned today?" Tom asked. "I'm meeting Linda for lunch," Sarah said. "And I need to go to the store. We need milk and bread. What about you?" "I have to go to the office for a few hours," Tom said. "There is some paperwork I need to finish. But I should be home by dinner time," Sarah nodded. Tom worked hard. He always had. When they first got married 15 years ago, he was just starting his career. Now he had a good position at his company, and they had a nice life. They had this house with the squeaky chair and the garden that needed work. They had each other. After breakfast, Sarah got ready to go out. She put on a simple blue dress and her comfortable shoes. She looked at herself in the mirror and pushed a strand of hair behind her ear. She was 38 years old now. Sometimes she felt like she was still 20. Other times, she felt much older. Today, she felt somewhere in between. She grabbed her purse and keys and went out to the car. The drive to town took about 20 minutes. She lived on the edge of the city where things were quieter. She liked it that way. The town center was nice, but it could be noisy and crowded. Sarah parked her car near the restaurant where she was meeting Linda. She was a little early, so she decided to walk around for a bit. The shops were just opening. People walked past her on the sidewalk, heading to work or running errands. Everyone looked busy and focused. She stopped in front of a bookstore and looked at the display in the window. There was a book about traveling to faraway places. The cover showed a beautiful beach with blue water and white sand. Sarah thought about how nice it would be to go somewhere like that. Maybe she and Tom could take a vacation soon. They had not gone anywhere in a long time. "Sarah," she turned around and saw Linda walking toward her. Linda was smiling big. She wore a bright red jacket, and her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail. Linda was 2 years younger than Sarah, but people often thought they were twins. They looked very much alike. "Hi," Sarah said, and hugged her sister. "Sorry I'm a little late," Linda said. "Traffic was terrible." "That's okay. I just got here too." They went into the restaurant and found a table by the window. A waitress came over and gave them menus. They both ordered salads and iced tea. The restaurant was not too busy yet. Soft music played in the background, and the smell of fresh bread filled the air. "So how have you been?" Linda asked. "Good," Sarah said. "Just the usual stuff. Work, home, nothing too exciting. What about you?" Linda's face changed a little. She looked down at her menu, even though she had already ordered. Sarah noticed right away. She knew her sister well enough to know when something was wrong. "Linda, what is it?" Linda looked up and bit her lip. She seemed nervous about something. "I need to tell you something," Linda said quietly. "I have been thinking about it for weeks. and I was not sure when to say it. Sarah felt worried now. Her sister looked serious. What's wrong? Are you okay? Crowed. 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 I'm fine, Linda said quickly. It's nothing bad. At least I don't think it's bad. But it's big news. And it will change things. Sarah waited. She could see Linda was trying to find the right words. I'm moving, Linda finally said. To California. Sarah felt like someone had knocked the air out of her lungs. California? That was on the other side of the country. That was thousands of miles away. What? Why? Sarah asked. I got a job offer, Linda explained. It's an amazing opportunity. The company is really good, and they want me to manage their new office in San Francisco. The pay is much better than what I make now. Sarah did not know what to say. She was happy for her sister. This sounded like a great opportunity. But she was also sad. Very sad. Linda was her best friend. They saw each other all the time. They talked about everything. What would it be like with Linda so far away? That's wonderful, Sarah said, trying to smile. When do you leave? In 6 weeks, Linda said. I know it's fast. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I wanted to be sure about it first. The waitress brought their food, but Sarah did not feel hungry anymore. She looked at her sister across the table. Linda looked excited and scared at the same time. Sarah understood. Moving across the country was a big deal. Starting over in a new place was brave. I'm going to miss you so much, Sarah said, and her voice cracked a little. I'm going to miss you too, Linda said. But we will talk all the time. And you can come visit me. California is beautiful. You and Tom should come. Sarah nodded. She knew Linda was right. People stayed in touch, even when they lived far apart. But it would not be the same as having lunch together or stopping by each other's houses. Everything was going to change. Sarah drove home from lunch feeling strange. Her mind was full of thoughts about Linda moving away. She turned on the radio but then turned it off again. She wanted quiet to think. The roads looked the same as always, but everything felt different now. When she got home, Tom was already there. His car was in the driveway. Sarah felt glad. She needed to talk to someone about this news. She walked into the house and found Tom in the living room. He was reading a book on the couch. You're home early, Sarah said. I finished faster than I thought, Tom said. He looked up and saw her face. What's wrong? Sarah sat down next to him and told him about Linda moving to California. Tom listened carefully. He did not interrupt. When she finished talking, he put his arm around her shoulders. That's big news, he said. How do you feel about it? I don't know, Sarah said honestly. I'm happy for her. It sounds like a great job, but I'm sad too. I'm really going to miss her. Of course you will, Tom said. She's your sister. But she will still be your sister even when she lives in California. And you can call her whenever you want. Sarah knew he was right. But knowing something with your head and feeling it in your heart were two different things. She leaned against Tom and closed her eyes. The next few weeks went by fast. Linda was busy getting ready for her move. She had to pack all her things and say goodbye to people and finish work at her old job. Sarah helped her pack. They spent hours together going through boxes and wrapping dishes in newspaper. Linda's apartment looked sad with all the furniture gone and boxes stacked everywhere. Sarah remembered when Linda first moved into this place. That was 5 years ago. Linda had been so excited to have her own apartment. Now she was leaving it behind for something new. Do you remember when you moved in here? Sarah asked. They were sitting on the floor taking a break from packing. Yes, Linda laughed. I was so proud. My first real apartment. And do you remember that awful green couch I bought? How could I forget? Sarah said. It was the ugliest thing I ever saw. You told me not to buy it, Linda said. You were right. I got rid of it after 6 months. They both laughed. It felt good to laugh together. Sarah wanted to remember this moment. She wanted to remember all the little things about her sister. The way Linda laughed. The way she always drank her coffee with too much sugar. The way she hummed when she was concentrating on something. The day before Linda left, they decided to do something special. They went to their favorite park. It was the same park where they played as children. Their mother used to bring them here on Saturday afternoons. They would run around and play on the swings and feed the ducks in the pond. Not much had changed. The swings were still there. The pond was still there with ducks swimming in it. But Sarah and Linda were different now. They were adults, with jobs and responsibilities. Time had moved forward like it always does. They walked on the path around the pond. The weather was nice. The sun was warm but not too hot. A light breeze made the trees move and whisper. "I'm scared," Linda said suddenly. "About moving?" Sarah asked. "Yes. What if I hate it? What if I made a mistake?" Sarah thought about what to say. She wanted to be honest but also supportive. "You might hate it," Sarah said. "Or you might love it. You won't know until you try. But if it doesn't work out, you can always come back. It's not like you can never come home again." We, end quote. Linda nodded. "You're right. I just keep thinking about all the things I'm leaving behind. My apartment. My friends. You. We will always be sisters," Sarah said. "Distance doesn't change that. And I'm really proud of you for being brave enough to do this. Not everyone would take a chance like this." "Thanks," Linda said. "That means a lot." They sat on a bench by the pond and watched the ducks. 2 little kids were throwing bread to the ducks. Their mother stood nearby watching them. The kids laughed when the ducks came closer. It reminded Sarah of when she and Linda were that young. Everything seemed so simple back then. That night, Sarah could not sleep. She lay in bed next to Tom and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, Linda would get on a plane and fly across the country. Tomorrow, everything would be different. Sarah felt tears in her eyes, but she did not want to cry. She did not want to be sad about this. She wanted to be happy for her sister. Tom rolled over and looked at her. "Can't sleep?" "No," Sarah whispered. "It's going to be okay," Tom said. "You'll see." Sarah hoped he was right. She finally fell asleep sometime after midnight. The next morning came too fast. Sarah and Tom drove to the airport to see Linda off. The airport was crowded and noisy. People rushed past them, pulling suitcases and checking phones. Everyone was going somewhere. Linda was already there, waiting at the check-in counter. She had 2 big suitcases and a backpack. She looked tired, but excited. When she saw Sarah, she waved. They went through security together as far as they could go. Then, it was time to say goodbye. Sarah hugged her sister tight. She tried not to cry, but a few tears came anyway. "Call me when you land," Sarah said. "I will," Linda promised. "And you better come visit soon." "I will," Sarah said. "I promise." Linda hugged Tom goodbye too. Then she picked up her bags and headed toward her gate. She turned around once and waved. Sarah waved back. Then, Linda disappeared into the crowd and was gone. Sarah and Tom walked back to the car in silence. Sarah felt empty inside. It was strange how one person leaving could make such a big hole in your life. They drove home, and Sarah looked out the window at the city passing by. Everything looked normal. People were going about their regular days. But for Sarah, nothing felt normal anymore. When they got home, the house felt too quiet. Sarah sat on the couch, and Tom made her tea. He sat next to her, and they watched television, without really paying attention to what was on. Sarah's phone was next to her. She kept looking at it, waiting for Linda's call. Finally, hours later, the phone rang. It was Linda. "I'm here," Linda said. "The flight was good. California is beautiful. I can see the ocean from my hotel window." "That sounds amazing." Sarah said. She was trying to sound happy. I miss you already, Linda said. I miss you too, Sarah replied. They talked for a while longer. Linda told her about the plane ride and what San Francisco looked like from the air. Sarah told her about the drive home from the airport. When they hung up, Sarah felt a little better. Maybe this would be okay after all. The first few weeks after Linda left were hard for Sarah. She kept forgetting that her sister was not just across town anymore. Sometimes, she would think of something funny and reach for her phone to text Linda. Then she would remember the time difference. When it was morning for Sarah, it was very early morning for Linda. When Sarah was eating dinner, Linda was still at work. They talked on the phone when they could. Linda sent pictures of her new apartment and the view from her office. The pictures were nice. Everything looked bright and modern, but Sarah missed seeing her sister in person. Pictures and phone calls were not the same as sitting together and having coffee. Sarah tried to keep busy. She went to work every day. She did the grocery shopping and cooked meals and cleaned the house. She worked in the garden and finally pulled out all those weeds. The garden looked better, but taking care of it made her think of Linda. They used to work in the garden together sometimes. Linda was not very good at gardening, but she would help anyway, and they would talk while they worked. Tom noticed that Sarah seemed sad. He tried to cheer her up. He took her out to dinner one night at a nice restaurant. They ordered good food and wine. The restaurant had candles on the tables and soft music playing. It was romantic and thoughtful of Tom. "You're a good husband," Sarah told him. "I try," Tom said with a smile. "I know you miss Linda. That's normal. But you're going to be okay." "I know," Sarah said. "It just takes time to adjust." At work, things were busy. Sarah worked at a small office that sold insurance. It was not the most exciting job, but it was steady, and she liked her coworkers. Her desk was by a window, and she could see the street outside. She watched people walk by and wondered where they were going and what their lives were like. Her boss was a man named Mr. Peterson. He was older, maybe 60, with gray hair and glasses. He was kind, but he expected people to work hard. Sarah respected him. She had worked at this company for 8 years now. It felt comfortable and familiar. One day at work, Mr. Peterson called Sarah into his office. She wondered if something was wrong. She went over what she had been working on in her mind. She could not think of any mistakes she had made. "Sit down, Sarah," Mr. Peterson said. He was smiling, so that was a good sign. Sarah sat down in the chair across from his desk. "Is everything okay?" "Everything is fine, Mr. Peterson said. "In fact, I have some good news. We are opening a new office in the next town over. I need someone to help manage it. I think you would be perfect for the job." Sarah was surprised. She had not expected this. "Really?" "Yes," Mr. Peterson said. "You have been here a long time. You know the business well. You work hard and people like you. The new office will need someone with experience. It would mean more responsibility and better pay." Sarah did not know what to say. This was a good opportunity. It was exactly the kind of thing she had hoped might happen someday. But she had not been thinking about it lately. She had been too focused on missing Linda. "When would this start?" Sarah asked. "In about 2 months, Mr. Peterson said. "The new office is almost ready. We just need to hire a few more people and get everything set up. So think about it and let me know by the end of the week." Sarah went back to her desk feeling excited and confused. This was good news. So why did she feel worried? She thought about it all afternoon while she worked. By the time she went home, she knew what was bothering her. The new office was in a different town. It was only 30 minutes away, but it was still a change. And Sarah had been dealing with a lot of change already. Linda moving away was a big change. Now this. She told Tom about it over dinner. He was excited right away. "Sarah, that's wonderful," he said. "I know," Sarah said. "But what if I'm not ready for that much responsibility?" "You're ready," Tom said. "You have been ready for a long time. You just need to believe in yourself." Sarah wanted to believe him. She had always been careful about taking risks. She liked things to be stable and predictable. But maybe it was time to try something new. Maybe Linda moving away had taught her something about being brave. The next day, Sarah called Linda to tell her about the job offer. Linda answered on the second ring. She sounded happy and energetic. Sarah could hear people talking in the background. "Where are you?" Sarah asked. "At a coffee shop," Linda said. "I'm meeting a friend from work. But I have a few minutes." "What's up?" Sarah told her about the job. Linda was even more excited than Tom had been. "You have to take it," Linda said. "This is amazing, Sarah. You deserve this. But I'm nervous." Sarah admitted. "What if I can't do it?" Of course you can do it," Linda said. "You can do anything you put your mind to. Look at me. I was terrified to move here. But I did it. And it turned out great. You need to take chances sometimes." After talking to Linda, Sarah felt better. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe she should take this job. That night she lay in bed, thinking about it. She imagined herself at the new office. She imagined meeting new people and learning new things. The more she thought about it, the more excited she got. By the end of the week, Sarah had made her decision. She went to Mr. Peterson's office and told him she wanted the job. He smiled and shook her hand. "I'm glad," he said. "I knew you were the right person for this." Sarah felt proud. This was something new and different. It was scary, but it was also exciting. She could not wait to tell Linda. The next 2 months went by quickly. Sarah was busy preparing for her new position. She had to train some new people who would take over her old job. She had meetings about the new office and what it would be like. She drove to the new location several times to see how things were coming along. The new office was in a building near the center of town. It had big windows and modern furniture. Everything was clean and fresh. Sarah liked it. She could picture herself working there. She could see herself being successful there. Tom was proud of her. He told all his friends about Sarah's new job. Sarah felt embarrassed but also happy. It was nice to have people be excited for her. Linda called often to check in and see how things were going. She was doing well in California. Her job was going great. She had made some new friends. She even started dating someone new, a man named David who worked in her building. Sarah was happy for her sister. It sounded like Linda was building a good life in her new city. But Sarah still missed her. She missed their lunches together. She missed stopping by Linda's apartment. She missed having her sister close by. Video calls were nice, but they were not the same. Sometimes Sarah would see something funny or interesting, and her first thought would be to tell Linda about it in person. Then she would remember that Linda was not there. One night, Sarah was looking at old photos on her computer. She found pictures from when they were kids. There was one of them at the park. The same park they had visited before Linda moved. They were so young in the photo. Maybe 7 and 5 years old. They were both smiling, big smiles, and holding ice cream cones. Their mother must have taken the picture. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. She missed those simple days when everything was easy. But she also knew that life had to move forward. People grow up. People change. People move away. That was just how life worked. It was sad, but it was also okay. Everyone had to find their own path. Sarah's first day at the new office finally arrived. She woke up extra early that morning. She was nervous, but also excited. She picked out a professional outfit and made sure she looked nice. Tom made her breakfast and wished her good luck. "You're going to do great," he said, and kissed her goodbye. The drive to the new office took about 30 minutes like she expected. The traffic was not too bad. Sarah listened to music in the car and tried to calm her nerves. She kept telling herself that she could do this. She was ready for this. When she arrived, the office was already busy. People were setting up their desks and computers. The phone was ringing. Someone was hanging pictures on the walls. It all felt very new and fresh. Sarah found her office. It was small, but it had a window with a nice view. She had her own desk, and her own chair, and her name on the door. Sarah Miller, office manager. She spent the morning meeting everyone who worked there. There were about 10 people total. Some of them were transferred from other offices. Some were new hires. Everyone seemed nice and friendly. Sarah tried to remember all their names, but it was hard. She knew it would take time to get to know everyone. By lunchtime, Sarah felt tired. It was a lot to take in all at once. She sat at her desk and ate the sandwich she had packed. Through her window, she could see people walking on the street below. The town was smaller than where she lived, but it was charming. There were little shops and cafes, and old buildings with character. The afternoon was filled with more meetings and paperwork. Sarah had to sign documents and set up her computer and learn new systems. Her head was spinning by the end of the day. When she finally drove home, she felt exhausted but satisfied. She had survived her first day. Tom wanted to hear all about it. Sarah told him everything while they ate dinner. She talked about the office and the people and all the new things she had to learn. Tom listened and asked questions. He was genuinely interested. Sarah felt lucky to have a husband who supported her like this. Over the next few weeks, Sarah settled into her new routine. She learned everyone's names and started to understand how the office ran. There were challenges. Some days were harder than others. Sometimes, she had to solve problems she had never dealt with before. But she figured things out. She asked questions when she needed help. She worked hard and did her best. One of her coworkers, a woman named Jennifer, became a friend. Jennifer was about Sarah's age, and she had 2 young kids. She was funny and easy to talk to. They often ate lunch together and talked about work and life. It was nice to have a friend at the office. Sarah still talked to Linda regularly. They had a routine now. Every Sunday morning, they would video chat for about an hour. Sarah would make coffee and sit on the couch with her laptop. Linda would do the same. They would catch up on everything that happened during the week. Linda was doing well. Her job was going great. She loved living in San Francisco. She talked about the places she had visited and the things she had done. She told Sarah about David, the man she was dating. He sounded nice. Linda seemed happy. Really happy. "I think I love him," Linda said one Sunday. "Is that crazy? We have only been dating for a few months." "It's not crazy," Sarah said. "When you know, you know." "How does he feel?" "I think he feels the same way," Linda said, smiling. "We are going to spend Thanksgiving together. He wants to introduce me to his family." Sarah felt happy for her sister, but she also felt a little sad. Thanksgiving had always been their time. Sarah and Linda and Tom would have dinner together. Sometimes their parents would come too. Now Linda would be spending it with David's family in California. "That's wonderful," Sarah said, and she meant it. "I'm so happy for you." After the call ended, Sarah sat on the couch for a while. She thought about how much had changed in just a few months. Linda had moved across the country. Sarah had started a new job. Everything was different. But different was not necessarily bad. It was just different. Tom came into the room and sat down next to her. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," Sarah said. "Just thinking about Thanksgiving. Linda won't be here this year." "I know," Tom said. "But we can still have a nice Thanksgiving. Maybe we can invite some friends over. Or we could go visit my parents." Sarah nodded. Tom's parents lived about 3 hours away. They were good people. Sarah liked them. Maybe that would be nice. As Thanksgiving approached, Sarah found herself getting more into the holiday spirit. She and Tom decided to host dinner at their house. They invited Tom's parents and his brother's family. They also invited Jennifer and her family. It would be a full house. Sarah spent the week before Thanksgiving cleaning and preparing. She made lists of food to buy and things to cook. She wanted everything to be perfect. Tom helped her get the house ready. They moved furniture around to make room for everyone. They set up a long table in the dining room. On Thanksgiving morning, Sarah woke up early to start cooking. She made a big turkey and stuffing, and mashed potatoes and green beans and cranberry sauce. The house smelled amazing. Tom helped where he could. He was not a great cook, but he was good at following directions. People started arriving in the afternoon. Tom's parents came first. His mother brought pies she had made. His brother arrived with his wife and their 3 kids. The kids ran around the house, excited and loud. Jennifer came with her husband and children. Soon, the house was full of people and noise and laughter. They all sat down for dinner, and Tom said a blessing over the food. Sarah looked around the table at all these people. They were not her original plan for Thanksgiving. This was not how she thought the day would go. But it was nice. It was really nice. During dinner, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Linda. There was a photo of Linda and David with his family. They were all sitting around a table, smiling. Linda looked beautiful and happy. The message said, "Happy Thanksgiving." Sarah smiled and showed the photo to Tom. "Linda looks happy," he said. "She does." Sarah agreed. And she was glad. Even though she missed her sister, she was glad Linda had found happiness in California. After dinner, everyone sat in the living room. The kids played games. The adults talked and drank coffee. It was warm and comfortable. Sarah sat next to Tom on the couch and felt content. This was not what she had expected her life to look like a few months ago. But it was good. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Sarah and Tom cleaned up. They washed dishes and put away leftovers and swept the floor. It took a long time, but they worked together and talked while they worked. "That was a good day," Tom said. "It really was," Sarah agreed. Before bed, Sarah called Linda. They talked about their different Thanksgivings. Linda told her all about David's family and the food they ate and the stories they told. Sarah told Linda about having everyone at their house and how much food she had cooked. "I missed you today," Sarah said. "But I'm glad you had a good time." "I missed you too," Linda said. "But there will be other holidays. And you know what? I was thinking maybe you and Tom could come visit for Christmas. You could stay with me and David. We could show you around the city." Sarah felt excited. "Really? You mean it?" "Of course," Linda said. "I want you to see my new life. And I want you to meet David properly." After they hung up, Sarah went to find Tom. He was already in bed reading. "Linda invited us to California for Christmas," Sarah said. Tom put down his book. "I don't see why not. I have time off work. It could be fun." Sarah got into bed feeling happy. She would get to see Linda. She would get to see California. Maybe she would even like David. Things were looking up. The weeks before Christmas flew by. Sarah was busy at work finishing projects before the holiday break. The new office was doing well. Mr. Peterson had called to tell her he was pleased with how things were going. Sarah felt proud of what she had accomplished. The job was still challenging, but she was getting better at it every day. She and Tom bought plane tickets to California. They would leave a few days before Christmas and stay for a week. Sarah was excited, but also a little nervous. She had never been to California before. She wondered what it would be like. She wondered what David would be like in person. Jennifer at work was excited for her. "You're going to love San Francisco," Jennifer said. "I went there years ago. It's beautiful. Take lots of pictures." Sarah promised she would. She went shopping for warm clothes, even though Linda told her California was not that cold. Sarah packed carefully. She wanted to be prepared for anything. The day of their flight finally came. Tom and Sarah got up very early and drove to the airport. The sun was not up yet. The roads were empty and quiet. Sarah felt butterflies in her stomach. She always got nervous before flying, but this was different. This was excitement mixed with nerves. The flight took about 5 hours. Sarah looked out the window for most of it. She watched the ground below change from familiar places to mountains to desert to finally the coast. When the plane started to descend, she could see the city below. San Francisco looked beautiful from the air. She could see the famous Golden Gate Bridge and the blue water of the bay. Linda was waiting for them at the airport. When Sarah saw her, she felt tears in her eyes. It had been months since they had seen each other in person. Linda looked good. She looked healthy and happy. Her hair was a little longer than before. She was wearing sunglasses, even though they were inside. They hugged for a long time. "I missed you so much," Sarah said. "I missed you too," Linda said. She hugged Tom too. "It's so good to see you both." David was with Linda. He was tall, with dark hair and a friendly smile. He shook hands with Tom and gave Sarah a hug. "It's great to finally meet you," he said. "Linda talks about you all the time." They got the luggage and walked to David's car. The air outside felt different than home. It was cooler, but not cold. The sky was bright and blue. Palm trees grew along the street. Everything looked clean and new. David drove them through the city. Sarah stared out the window, taking in all the sights. The buildings were different. The hills were steep. There were so many people everywhere. It felt alive and energetic. Linda pointed out different neighborhoods and landmarks as they drove. Linda's apartment was in a nice area with lots of shops and restaurants. It was smaller than her old apartment, but it was bright and modern. Large windows showed a view of the city. Sarah could see why Linda loved it here. "This is amazing," Sarah said, looking around. "Thanks," Linda said. "I got lucky finding this place. The rent is expensive, but it's worth it." They spent the afternoon catching up. Linda and David told them about all the places they wanted to show them during the week. They had made a whole plan. Linda. They would visit the Golden Gate Bridge and Fisherman's Wharf and Alcatraz Island. They would eat at good restaurants and walk through different neighborhoods. It all sounded wonderful. That evening, they went to dinner at a restaurant near Linda's apartment. The food was delicious. They had fresh fish and vegetables and good wine. They talked and laughed. Sarah watched Linda and David together. She could see they were in love. The way they looked at each other, the way they touched hands across the table. It reminded Sarah of when she and Tom first started dating. Over the next few days, they saw so much of the city. They walked across the Golden Gate Bridge. The wind was strong, and the view was incredible. Sarah took dozens of photos. They visited Alcatraz and learned about its history as a prison. They rode the famous cable cars and explored Chinatown. They ate amazing food and drank good coffee. Sarah fell in love with the city. She understood now why Linda had stayed. There was something special about this place. The energy, the diversity, the beauty. It was different from home, but different in a good way. On Christmas Eve, they went to David's parents' house for dinner. David's family was warm and welcoming. His mother was a great cook. They had a big feast with ham and side dishes and desserts. David had 2 sisters, and they were both nice. Everyone talked and shared stories. Sarah felt comfortable there. Tom seemed to be having a good time too. After dinner, they exchanged gifts. Sarah had brought presents for Linda and David. Linda gave her a beautiful scarf she had bought at a local shop. They sat by the Christmas tree, and the lights twinkled. Christmas music played softly. It was peaceful and happy. That night, back at Linda's apartment, the 4 of them stayed up late talking. They drank wine and reminisced about old times. Linda and Sarah told stories about growing up together. Tom and David asked questions and laughed at the funny parts. "Remember when we tried to build that treehouse?" Linda said. "Oh God, yes," Sarah laughed. "We had no idea what we were doing. It fell apart after 2 days. Mom was so mad," Linda said. "We had used all of Dad's good tools and left them out in the rain." They laughed together. It felt good to remember these old memories. It made Sarah feel connected to her sister, even though they lived far apart now. On Christmas morning, they opened more gifts. and made a big breakfast. They spent the day relaxing at the apartment. They watched movies and talked, and just enjoyed being together. It was simple, but perfect. The rest of the week went by too fast. They did more sightseeing. They went to a beautiful park called Golden Gate Park. They visited museums and art galleries. They drove down the coast and saw the ocean. Everything was beautiful. On their last night, they went to a nice restaurant for dinner. It had a view of the bay. The sun was setting, and the sky turned orange and pink. It was one of the most beautiful things Sarah had ever seen. "I don't want to leave," Sarah said. "This week has been amazing." "You can come back anytime," Linda said. "You're always welcome here. And you better come visit us too," Sarah said. "Don't forget about home." "I could never forget," Linda said. "But I love it here. I feel like I belong here." "Does that make sense?" "It makes perfect sense," Sarah said. She understood. Linda had found where she was supposed to be. That was a special thing. The next morning, David drove them to the airport. The goodbye was hard. Sarah hugged her sister tight. "Take care of yourself," she said. "You too," Linda said. "And thank you for coming. It meant everything to me." On the plane ride home, Sarah felt different. She was sad to leave, but she was also happy. Happy that she had seen Linda. Happy that Linda was doing so well. Happy that she had experienced California. She held Tom's hand and looked out the window. "That was a good trip," Tom said. "It really was," Sarah agreed. When they got home, the house felt familiar and comforting. Sarah was glad to be back. She liked traveling, but she also liked coming home. Just like Linda belonged in California now. Sarah went back to work after the new year. She told Jennifer all about the trip. She showed her pictures on her phone. Jennifer was happy for her. Work was busy with everyone back from the holidays. Sarah dove into it and felt good about what she was doing. Her life had changed so much over the past several months. Linda had moved away. She had started a new job. She had traveled to California. But through all the changes, she had stayed true to herself. She had been brave when she needed to be. She had adapted when things got difficult. That night, Sarah sat on the couch with Tom. They were watching television, but not really paying attention. Sarah thought about everything that had happened. She thought about how scared she had been when Linda first said she was moving. She thought about how nervous she was to take the new job. But she had done both things, and everything turned out okay. Better than okay. "Thank you," Sarah said to Tom. "For what?" Tom asked. "For always supporting me. For being there through all the changes. For being a good husband." Tom smiled and kissed her forehead. "That's what I'm here for." Sarah felt grateful. Grateful for Tom. Grateful for her job. Grateful for Linda, even though she was far away. Life was not perfect, but it was good. Things changed, and that was okay. People moved and grew and found new paths. But the important things stayed the same. Love stayed the same. Family stayed the same. She picked up her phone and sent Linda a message. "Thank you for a wonderful week. I love you." A few minutes later, Linda replied, "I love you too. Always." Sarah smiled and put her phone down. She snuggled close to Tom and felt at peace. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new experiences. But tonight, right now, everything was exactly as it should be.